In this video, we're going to be going over what coronary artery disease actually is, and we're going to go over some examples of coronary artery disease. So to start off with, I'm just going to explain the purpose of a coronary artery in the first place. So I'm just going to draw a rough myocardium shape. So a general idea that I want you to understand is that oxygen actually has a lot of issues moving from the blood into the chambers of the heart. And as a result, coronary arteries provide copious amounts of blood, allowing for oxygen to move from the blood into the chambers of the heart. Now, I'm going to draw a coronary artery just to illustrate its function. So as you can see here, we have a coronary artery and there's blood all throughout the coronary artery. And within the coronary artery, there's also cholesterol, which I'm going to draw in black. So you can see there's cholesterol, and there's also white blood cells. And I'm drawing it with the blue marker, but hopefully that's clear. You can tell, it may not be super clear with the drawing, but just know that there are white blood cells and cholesterol within this coronary artery. Now, coronary artery disease begins with a damaged section of the coronary artery itself. So say if there's a damaged portion right here. So this black circle that I've drawn is a damaged section. Now, this damaged section, cholesterol, which is carried by low density lipoproteins, will move towards this damaged section, and these low density lipoproteins will actually deposit cholesterol in these damaged sections. White blood cells will follow this cholesterol into these damaged section regions, and as a result, continuous depositing of cholesterol in this space will form a plaque, and this plaque will actually obstruct blood flow. Cholesterol carried by low density lipoproteins will be deposited in these damaged sections, and following this, the white blood cells will follow, and this continuous depositing of cholesterol will form a plaque, which I'm going to draw right here. So this damaged section will turn into this plaque. You can see there. And this plaque, so continued depositing of cholesterol will form the plaque. Okay, so now that the general idea of coronary artery disease is explained, I'm going to actually go over specific examples of coronary artery disease and how it can spread to acute coronary syndromes, which are a bit more severe. So I'm going to write this over here. Examples. The first one we have is a stable angina, which is what it's called. So I'm going to write that here. Now, what a stable angina is essentially this previous plaque that we talked about before, this plaque right here, that obstructs blood flow, essentially prevents a specific muscle within the heart from receiving blood, and as a result, it prevents it from receiving oxygen, and this causes hypoxia. This hypoxic state, the actual symptom, the physical symptom, is known as angina pectoris, which refers to chest tightness. So the plaque that we talked about before obstructs blood flow, which causes specific cardiac muscle to not receive blood and oxygen, causing hypoxia. And the symptom of this hypoxia is called angina pectoris, which is chest tightness. Now, the reason that it is called stable angina is because the plaque is predictable in terms of its location, and specifically that region causes a blockage and we can predict that, which is why it's stable. And it's also stable because it only occurs when the heart rate increases. That's the key point that I really want to explain, is that a stable angina, when at rest, there is no issue. However, as the heart rate increases and the heart requires more blood, this plaque will obstruct that blood flow and will cause that specific muscle to not receive blood and oxygen, which causes that hypoxia and that hypoxia symptom of angina pectoris. Now, things can get more severe, and the next stage of severity is known as acute coronary syndrome, And there's two types of acute coronary syndrome. The first type is a unstable angina. And the second type of acute coronary syndrome is a heart attack. So I'm just going to break down quickly each of these types of acute coronary syndrome and explain how they each form. So a unstable angina, remember this plaque that we talked about before. What happens is this plaque will actually burst and rupture. And what happens when that plaque actually ruptures is that all of the plaque material, which consists of fatty molecules, are dispersed around the blood vessel. And when blood comes into contact with this plaque material, it will cause further clot formation, which will actually cause blockages at certain portions of the plaque, whereas other portions of the plaque may not be blocked. It is unpredictable, and certain regions and muscles of the heart can be blocked even at rest. It does not require the heart rate to increase for a specific region of the heart to be blocked from accessing blood flow. So I think the key thing to understand is that the plaque will bursts, and clot will form. Clot will form when plaque material comes into contact with blood. And yeah, when this plaque material comes into contact with the blood, it will essentially cause further clotting and certain portions of the plaque itself being obstructing blood flow and other regions not obstructing blood flow. And it causes this unstable nature where the heart rate does not necessarily need to increase for the obstruction of blood and the obstruction of specific cardiac muscles accessing blood and oxygen. Now, the second type of acute coronary syndrome is a heart attack. And a heart attack is when the thrombosis, which is essentially a clot, will actually completely block a portion of the heart from accessing blood flow via the coronary artery. And what this will result in is complete hypoxic response, where a portion of the heart cannot access blood or oxygen at all, and is complete obstruction. So we'll just say clot. And this is when the clot is quite large, which blocks blood from coronary artery from accessing heart muscle. That is everything that I wanted to cover in this video going over coronary artery disease. Hopefully this video was clear and helped you understand how coronary artery disease actually works and the specific examples of coronary artery disease and more severe acute coronary syndrome examples that can also occur as well. With all that being said, that's all we're going to be covering in this video.